I never kept. I mean, we did things in my house. My father sometimes would make kiddush. My mother would light candles. We'd have chicken soup, family meal. It was lovely. It was nice. It was wonderful. My grandfather would come. My father would argue with my grandfather. My father would talk with my older brother until my mother yelled at them to stop talking business at the table. And then he would turn to his grandfather, to my grandfather, and they would argue about politics, which was better, capitalism or socialism. But everything which that was Shabbos. But it wasn't really keeping Shabbos. It was like a traditional thing that Shabbos. It wasn't really keeping Shabbos. So I tried to keep Shabbos. In the end, I said, when it was over, the first time it was over, I remember so clearly. I saw the sun setting behind the hills. I was living in a country area. I saw the sun setting behind the hills, and I said, "Gosh, I don't know about God, but this was real. This was real. It was a very moving experience, and I said, I got to do this again. Got to try and do it better. I'm still working at it." So that's what we said. When you do a mitzvah, you're doing the revealed side of the Torah. You're fulfilling the laws of the Torah, but you're connecting with the hidden side of the Torah, which is the holiness that's in it. That's what I'm telling you. I said, I never had an experience like this before. And the same thing with the Torah itself. There's a revealed aspect of the Torah that there you really know that you're connecting with holiness because it's the Torah. But there's a hidden side to it that you don't even imagine. So for that, you have to learn Hasidus. That's why it says every person has to really learn Hasidus. Now, the point is, when you know, like we learned yesterday, that when you do any simple mitzvah, you're not just doing a mitzvah, you're not just giving a quarter to a poor person, and you're not just cleaning your room for Shabbos, or having chicken soup Friday night. You're keeping Shabbos, Hashem's holy Shabbos, and that gives you a different feeling. And Hashem Shabbos is something that Hashem keeps, a special blessing from Hashem. And all these three things are working now together. And when you know that, and when you do the light a Shabbos candle, or you brush your teeth before you take a shower, you brush your teeth before Shabbos, in the honor of Shabbos, it's not the same. It's not the same. There's added dimensions to it, which otherwise you wouldn't know about and you wouldn't experience. And it changes you and it awakens in you a love you didn't know that you had in your heart. And that's what the Alter Rebbe is writing about here, a hidden love. Every Jew has in his heart, or her heart, a hidden love for Hashem. And now all of a sudden, you're lighting a Shabbos candle with a feeling of love. Where'd that come from? Well, it was there all the time, but just the fact that you learned this Zohar made it accessible. It brought it to the forefront of your awareness, and it made it accessible. That wonderful feeling and dimension, deeper dimension to it. And that's tremendous value of learning Hasidus, that we all want to do Torah and mitzvahs. I mean, people who don't want to learn Hasidus do want to do Torah and mitzvahs. There's no question about that. But the love and the awe, they don't necessarily get. And it says, a person can keep Torah and mitzvahs and forget about the giver of the Torah and the mitzvahs. And learning Hasidus puts you back in touch with where it's all coming from. And that's why it's very important to learn Hasidus. Now we're doing chapter 18, which is talking about this hidden love. Until now, we spoke about love that's awakened, love and awe from God, that's awakened through meditation. What do you mean meditation? We think about our experience of the world, and from it we deduce obvious lessons about things that are beyond our understanding. Like, for instance, how come the moon doesn't wear out? My socks wear out, my shoes wear out. Why doesn't the moon wear out? Thousands of years. Could you keep a pair of socks for thousands of years? We don't think about it. We witness it and we don't think about it. That there's a different dimension of life. We exist in a dimension of life where things wear out, and there's a deeper dimension. We can't see where it begins and where it ends, and we can't send a rocket ship to see where it begins and where it ends, because that's not what it's all about. It's a different dimension of creation where things don't wear out. You can send a rocket ship to the moon, it will wear out. But the moon will not wear out. Because the moon teaches us what eternity means. The moon is eternal. The sun is eternal. How come the sun doesn't lose its energy? It keeps on creating. Do you know anything that keeps on creating energy the whole time and doesn't have to get plugged in somewhere? How could that be? Beats me. I don't know. Hashem knows. And that's a very superficial level of Hashem, because that's the lowest level of the world of action. Okay. Now, we relate to that without even really being aware of it. But it's hidden in our heart. And what this chapter is about is, now, if we meditate, don't lose track now, if we meditate on the greatness of Hashem, that we can perceive, physically we can perceive it, and we can learn about it in a physical sense, like we can study botany and biology and physics and chemistry, we can learn about it, learn amazing things. And that could lead us, just like this little exercise we did this morning about thinking about doing a mitzvah and how the mitzvah is connected with the Torah and the Torah is connected with Hashem, and we're all three of us connected to each other, can awaken feelings for a dimension in our Torah and mitzvahs that didn't experience regularly. So that's how meditation can awaken love and fear in your heart, love and awe of God in your heart, through thinking about, that's called meditation. What about a person who doesn't have the mental strength to do it? He's not aware, he's a simple person, not aware of things, goes through life on a very simple, basic level, can be a good person, good, kind, limited, but good. But he's not on that level, okay? And yet, he will remain faithful in his Judaism. Example, a friend of mine told me one day on Yom Kippur, Erev Yom Kippur, he went to shul, and he's going home, preparing for the holy fast of Yom Kippur, and the workmen are digging a ditch, a sewer, outside his house. And he's walking home, and there's this workman there, big, heavy-set workman, with a big body, big belly, big arms. His arms, he said, his arms were so big he didn't have sleeves, just cut off at the shoulder. And he sees the rabbi walking by, and he looks up, and he says, this is in England, he says in a Cockney East End accent, "Have a good fast, Rabbi." Rabbi looks up. "That's right," he says, "I'm Jewish too." Simple person has a deep feeling and connection with Judaism. That's what the Alter Rebbe is writing about here, that every Jewish person has this in his heart. He's not leading an observant life. We hope that from the family tradition, he would keep kosher, but we don't know, not necessarily. A lot of students on campus don't come from kosher homes, but they'll come to hear the shofar blown when the rabbi blows the shofar on Rosh Hashanah. It's special. I know somebody went to Rosh Hashanah and went to hear the shofar blown, and he went at night, and he didn't know that you're supposed to blow the shofar by day. He was very disappointed. So he didn't know, but he knew that he wanted to hear a shofar blown. And similarly, there's this deep hidden connection, attachment, which we learned about with the 3 rings and from the Zohar, right? So the Alter Rebbe is saying that everybody has this love hidden in their heart, even though, let's turn to now page 255, let's see. Even a person who has only a limited understanding of the greatness of a God, and what's the greatness of God? We had on the board yesterday, right? Gadlus Haboira, greatness of the Creator, right? And he doesn't have feelings in his heart developed, doesn't have developed feelings for the greatness of the infiniteness of God. So that through meditation, he could produce a love and fear in his mind. These are the chapters we skipped. That if you can at least meditate, that it would be appropriate to have love and fear, even though you don't feel it. Hashem says that's good. It's good. It's good. You're doing good. But here he says he can't get that far. Nonetheless, says the Alter Rebbe, it says in the Torah, the thing is very near to you, in your heart and in your mouth to do it. Meaning the whole Torah and mitzvahs are very near to every single person. And even though we can't, through meditation, even though a person cannot, through meditation, arouse love and fear of God, except very, very superficially, through the kind of exercise we just did this morning, nonetheless, he is connected with Hashem. And page 255, see what it says there? He can fulfill the Torah, the ficha in his mouth, because he's going to say holy things. When you wish somebody a blessing on Rosh Hashanah, it's a holy thing. Have a happy new year, you say. Happy new year, have a good year. It's the Rebbe Maharash said, on the eve of Rosh Hashanah, when people go home from shul and they say, have a good year, have a healthy year, good news. There are thousands of angels hovering around to hear those words, because the angels can't say them. And they're very jealous. And to them, it's a wonderful, wonderful experience. And they take those words and they present them before God. Because the words which you say, and everybody says, have a happy new year, have a good year, nachas from the children, good health, they are connected with depths in your heart. That's what it says here, 255. They come from the depths of a person's heart, and they are said with absolute sincerity. With love and with fear, you're saying, have a good year. Have a good year. That's what the Alter Rebbe is speaking about. This is, bottom of page 255, this is all coming from the hidden love which is in the heart of every single Jewish man and woman. And where do we get it from? We get it from the first Jewish people, who were Abraham and Yitzchak and Yaakov and Sarah and Rivka and Rachel and Leah. So now the Alter Rebbe asks, page 256, how did this become our inheritance? I mean, that's a wonderful thing to say. Let's try and understand, where does it come? How do we rate? What did we do to get this? We didn't do anything. That's the point. He didn't meditate. He didn't do anything. She didn't do anything. So how come it's there? So the explanation is as follows, page 256. See what it says? the new Shir, 38th of Shvat. The explanation is from Rabbi Gordon, which I'm glad you asked. That the Avos, that means the fathers of the Jewish people, the Avos, are called a chariot of God. Well, what's a chariot? It's a taxi. It goes where the driver wants it to go. It doesn't go on its own. It doesn't have a will of its own. It fulfills the directions of the driver. The fathers made themselves into a chariot for God. I had a friend. He was a businessman. He was a wonderful character. You could write a whole book about him. I hope somebody will. He was a great friend of mine. His name was Mr. Avraham Yitzchak Glick. He was saved from the Holocaust. When he was a teenager, his father sent him out of Vienna to England as a safe place. And then he fought in the Jewish Brigade of the British Army in the Second World War. And then he helped Jews who were called DPs, displaced persons. They had no country, had no papers, they had nowhere to go, they had no money, and he devoted himself to helping them. And for this, he was rewarded greatly from God. And the Rebbe used to send him to all kinds of countries in Europe where there were no rabbis. Maybe there was a Jewish community, a Reform rabbi, a conservative rabbi, a semi-conservative rabbi, a semi-Orthodox rabbi, but there were no real leadership. And the Rebbe would send them to these places to encourage the communities. And he would say, but don't be a rabbi. They don't need a rabbi. So you go and do your business. He would send them to the places where he did business. You go and do your business, and then they'll listen to you because you're a businessman. They don't want to listen to rabbis. That was what the Rebbe told him. And he was in his 50s, pushing 60. I know, I was in my 20s when I met him. And he was diabetic, and he suffered from his diabetes. And Hanukkah time, the Rebbe sent him to Spain and Portugal and Mallorca to bring Hanukkah to these communities. And he said, what does the Rebbe want from me? He said, want to grind me into dust? I have no energy for this. Well, everywhere he went, he was really laying, like Johnny Appleseed. You know about Johnny Appleseed, right? You heard about him? No, you never heard of him? Yeah. Okay, so I'm not going to tell you about him now. But anyway, he was planting seeds. He was planting seeds, and every place that he went, shluchim are there now. He went when there were no shluchim. He said, what does the Rebbe want from me? Does he want to grind me into dust? He was complaining. He liked to complain. He was complaining. And then he said, well, I say, let him grind me into dust. Let me be the Rebbe's dust. I'll be the Rebbe's dust. That's it. And he went. That's why the Rebbe left him. That's what it means to make yourself a chariot for Hashem. And that's what our fathers did. By the way, just as an interjection, we learn Pirkei Avos between Pesach and Shavuos, and then we continue learning it through the summer. How come? What's the connection? We learn Pirkei Avos to prepare ourselves for receiving the Torah. Okay, good. So that's what we're doing. We should be better people, more sensitive, more ethical, more compassionate, more obedient to the more respectful to Torah and mitzvahs and other people. And that way we should deserve to receive the Torah on Shavuos in a way, on a level that never was before in our lives and never in the history of the world. Why do we keep learning it after Shavuos? Why do we learn it all on Shabbos every week through the summer until the high holy days? How come? What's the connection? The connection is because on Shavuos, what happens on Shavuos? What's going to happen on Shavuos?
We're going to get the Torah.
What? We're getting the Torah, right? Well, that's why we keep learning it through the summer, because We got the Torah on Shavuos, but then we blew it. There was a glitch. And there was the whole story, the tablets got broken, and the Jewish people had to do a tremendous tshuva. And then Hashem gave the Torah a second time. When? Hashem gave the Torah again. He forgave us for our, what?
Yom Kippur.
On Yom Kippur. So the real meaning, the inner meaning of Yom Kippur is the giving of the Torah. That's when the Torah was really given, is on Yom Kippur. And that's what we're preparing for. Okay. That's why we learn, and that's why it's called Avos, the teachings of the fathers. And why do we call it the fathers? Because the teachings in those chapters are the fathers of all wisdom. Everything in the world of philosophy is found in those chapters. So they're called Avos because we learn them from the great teachers of our people, but they're not about Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. But they are the teachings that come to us, and therefore they are called the fathers of all teaching, Pirkei Avos. So the Av, now get back on track. That was a digression. I almost said a digestion. I knew there was a G in there. A digression. There was a digression about the Avos, the idea of the fathers. The Avos are the fathers and the mothers of the Jewish people. They were giants. They were literally giants. It says that Moshe Rabbeinu was a physical giant. He was really tall. He was immensely tall. But they were giants of the spirit. And because they dedicated themselves so completely and totally to God, their limbs would not do something against the will of God. Just wouldn't do it. They have perfected a physical sensitivity in their lives to only do things that God want them to do. That's why it's very, very hard for Abraham to slaughter his son Yitzchak, because his body knew that Hashem didn't want. He had to force his body to do everything to sacrifice Yitzchak, because Hashem didn't want him to sacrifice Yitzchak. And when Hashem stopped him, he said, "But you told me to do it." Hashem said, "I didn't tell you to do it. I told you to take him up. Took him up, now take him down." Passed the test. It was just a test. It was a test. So therefore, since they made themselves so subservient to the will of God that their body itself knew what God wanted, and sometimes they could get confused and they would think that God wanted something and their body would say, "No, I'm not going to do it. I won't do it." Right? So therefore, page 250 at the bottom, they merited to draw down for all future generations that would come from them forever and ever a nefesh, a ruach, and a neshama from the 10 holy spirits, which we learned what these 10 spirits are, from all of the 4 worlds of, what are the 4 worlds? Asiya, world of action; Yetzirah, the world of forms and emotion, source of our emotions; and Bria, the world of creation, which is the source of intellect or awareness. And the 4th world is Atzilus, the world of God, godliness. That's the first level that the 10 spheres appear. And there, the 10 spheres appear in the world of Atzilus. We've learned this, chapter 3. They appear there in the world of Atzilus like a young man and woman get married and they don't have a family, but they're going to have a family. Where is that? Where are those children? Where are they? They are in the brain of the father. Like they say in common parlance, "I knew you before you're so-and-so's son. I knew you before you were a glimmer in your father's eye, before you even got married." So that's where it is. That's where it's coming from, you see. So the same way the child of the future is included in the brain of the Father, the 10 spheres of holiness are included in the oneness of God. They're not perceptibly different. They're part of God. We're going to have to stop there. At any rate, even the most unworthy of Jewish people, even a person who's a sinful person, he eats treif, he doesn't care. I'm not supposed to do that. He says, I don't care. Nonetheless, if they marry a Jewish girl, they will draw down by their union a nefesh, a godly, holy soul. From where? Well, you see, we have 10 spheres, right? And the lowest level of each sphere becomes the highest level of the next sphere down, right? Like a chain link until you get to the bottom. The lowest level is called what we call the nefesh of the world of action, the lowest level. But guess what? The nefesh of the world of action becomes atzilus of the next world down. And we go worlds and worlds and worlds and worlds. So then the lowest level is malchus, of the 10 spheres. The lowest level is malchus. And even the most unworthy, unobservant, alienated person from his Judaism, when he has a child with a Jewish mother, is going to draw down a nefesh, which is the basic level of life, called the spirit of life, from Malchus, the lowest level of the 10 spheres, of the world of action, the world of Asiya. And even will go down the whole chain all over again, and it could be he'll draw down a spirit from Malchus of Asiya. Or again, Malchus of Asiya, And that's going to connect that child to Malchus of the world above it, to Malchus of the world above it, to Malchus of the world of action, to the Malchus of the world of emotion, to Malchus of the world of intellect, to the Malchus of God. And so this kid who grows up in New Jersey, and when it comes October 7th, he signs up. I'm going to Israel. I'm going to fight for my people. And he ends up spending almost 3 years in the tunnels and as a hostage, one of the hostages who just released last week. Well, you could say, well, his mother was from Israel, so what about the Jews whose mothers are not from Israel? This is the lowest level of holiness in the world of Asiya, and so on and so on and so on. Nonetheless, since Malchus is one of the 10 holy spheres, and since holiness is part of the realm of unity, where every level is comprised of every other level. In other words, in Malchus you have Chesed, you have Gevurah, you have Tiferes, you have Chochmah and Bina. You have all the levels are in every other. They interact with one another. So the lowest level of the world of Asiya is compounded of all the other levels. All the other levels in the level of Asiya, including not just Malchus of Asiya, but all the way up to Chochmah of Asiya. And Chochmah of Asiya is connected with Chochmah, wisdom of Yetzirah, and wisdom of Bria, and wisdom of Atzilus. So in Chochmah of the world of Atzilus, and what's in the Chochmah of the world of Atzilus is the light of the infinite, higher than spheres. The inner energy of the spheres is God himself. And that's why it says, bottom of page 258, with the wisdom of God, Chochmah is wisdom, with the wisdom of God, Hashem established the earth. The earth is the lowest of the lowest of the lowest of all the levels. And they all come down level by level, like onion rings, one within the other, one within the other, one within the other, till we get to the lowest level of Malchus of the world of action, 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 until finally this world where with the darkness, the light gets less and less and less and less and less. And this is the darkness of this world that we can go through the world not even realizing that there's anything special about us, that we're Jewish. And then suddenly you get a rude awakening when you go, you thought, you're just a regular kid. And you go to college and the students are outside your dorm screaming, free Palestine, free Palestine. And you're afraid to go out. It's a rude awakening. And you remember that you're Jewish. Ooh. I never thought of myself as Jewish, but the world knows you're Jewish. Like the story I told you 2 days ago about Dr. Sofer, the mathematician, who found out he was Jewish when he was arrested in Egypt because he was Jewish. Or the Jews in Germany who were arrested and sent to the gas chambers because they were Jewish. And they thought they were more German than the Germans. They served in the German army. They were distinguished for their service in the German army. That's what it's all about. That's the hidden love. We're learning today about the hidden love in the heart of every Jew. And how do we access it? By knowing that it's there, it makes it more possible for us to access it. And it doesn't require meditation. We don't have to be brilliant. Yeah, I know. I remember. That's what happens. When the class comes to an exciting conclusion, you just like get up and leave, and the curtain comes down. Okay. Thank you, everybody. What am I doing when you girls won't go away?
I'm coming back.
Yeah, but nothing going.
That's true. Aw, but I'll come visit. We have a break now, right?
Hey, Rabbi Pape.
Oh, there's a break now?
Yeah, it's always a Wednesday.
Yes, that's great.
Having break?